studying math, physics really helps me be more advanced in this game of life. Right. I really don't think so. I think it's really our ability to see questions, to ask questions, and to be curious, to have that eyes, to be curious about life. I think that's what pushes us forward.
I am your host, Professor Nez, and if you're new to this show, this is a show where we interview creative entrepreneurs, innovative individuals, people who are doing great things in their respective fields, coming to our show and sharing their story with you guys, Nez Nation, and us, so that hopefully you can be motivated to go out and do your thing, okay? And the key thing here is share, guys. So hopefully go out there and share this. I'm monitoring the comments. Robert Stern is in the house. Hey, Robert, good to see you. So this is live. We are live. This is not a podcast. This is not radio. This is live, and I can't wait to introduce to you who we have today. This is somebody who literally just encapsulated my attention in the past, I would say probably the past maybe 8 or 9 months, I've been kind of slowly keeping an eye on our guest here, and her name is Ai Zhang, Addison Zhang, and she likes to be referred to as I, and she's an associate professor. She is a social media professor, much like I am, and which I love. I love to see people who are going from academia. We had Dr. Bowling on last night, which was awesome. She's doing a lot of cool things. She's an awesome Snapchatter, and she's doing her energy, her enthusiasm. I'm embarrassing her now, but her energy, her enthusiasm, her passion really shines through social media and shows the human side of things. So I am just so blessed, so privileged, so lucky. Ladies and gentlemen, Nez Nation, without further ado, I give you Ai Zhang. Hello, Ai. How are you?
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for such an amazing introduction. I don't know if are you talking about me? Who is that person?
Yes, I am definitely talking about you. Tim, how are you? Yeah.
And thank you so much for joining us live. And if you are watching this on replay, thank you very much. And
yes.
My name is
Look how good she is. Look how good she is. She knows about the replay. She knows about the rebroadcast. I love it. And by the way, tell our Nez Nation audience a little bit more about you and what you do. Anything I might have missed in that intro. And
yes.
I'm going to go ahead and share this out. Please, Ai Zhang.
Yes. I tend to talk a lot. So please.
No, I love it.
Please feel free to stop me, because the other time I was supposed to do a 30 minutes interview. I think I talked like 1.5 hours. So I definitely don't want to do that.
I love it.
And,
no, you're free to do whatever you want.
I am actually a native Chinese, and I came to the United States in 2003 to pursue higher education. And recently I just shared one blog of how the traditional K-12 education in China softly killed my interest in learning. And I really wanted to come to the US to experience a different educational paradigm. So I came to the US in 2003. I got my master in communication from Syracuse University. I got my PhD in communication from the University of Maryland. I graduated in 2009 and then started teaching at Stockton University in New Jersey as a PR communication professor. And it's only until recently that I embarked on this journey of becoming a social media professor. And this is why. About 2 years ago, and I was grading students' papers, and one of my he's a good student, wrote in his paper, he had never heard of Twitter. He didn't know what Twitter was and how to use Twitter or do Twitter chat or like any of the social media. That was such a wake-up call for me. And I noticed there was a big gap in my teaching. And I noticed that I was not preparing my students, even though I was doing lectures about how important social media was, but I never truly embraced social media myself. And so I noticed that, and that kind of triggered me to really embrace social media, to use myself as an example to show students the power of social media, what can you do with social media, how to build your personal brand, how to talk to strangers that you never met in person.
Yeah. Good stuff. Great stuff.
And it has been truly amazing. And recently, and because of my husband's job, and he works as a data scientist. And so he is right now like at a local branch in Seoul, South Korea for his company. And our entire family talking about taking risks. And our family relocated to South Korea. And I'm right now taking unpaid leave from right now I'm still on sabbatical, but starting in the fall semester, I will be taking unpaid leave. So if you want to be an adjunct, comment below. I can get you connected. And yeah, that's kind of my journey where I am and the production.
This is so interesting because this is some of the stuff that I wanted to talk to you about. I think it's so important that, you know, I've been kind of a big advocate of some of the things that are lacking in U.S. education. And, you know, we see across the world that other places have been implementing really unique strategies to reach their students. And I definitely, hey, Barb, good to see you. I definitely, please share, you guys, and don't forget, we're monitoring the comments. Please leave as many comments. If you have any questions for the great social media professor Ai Zhang, please go ahead and leave those in the comments. I'm definitely monitoring everything. Yes, and Zhang, Ai is all over it too. I love Ai's energy. And yeah, so getting back to, it's interesting because, you know, there's a lot of, and I talked to David about this too, Dr. Halsmer, that there's a lot of resistance in education to, you know, adapt. There's a lot of resistance to, hey, Erica, good to see you. There's this, you know, and David's research has really implemented and reflected this sort of 400-year-old thinking, which I loved interviewing David. And I know I is connected with David too. Hey, Addie, good to see you guys. Thank you so much. Please leave hearts, please leave likes, please comment if you have any questions. We have an amazing guest, Ai Zhang, today. And I love how you've taken the sort of responsibility, you've answered the call, because this is what I call Snapchat 21st century storytelling. I call Instagram stories, I call social media really is the predominant form of communication in the 21st century. And why wouldn't we adapt to this? This is how our students are talking, communicating, exchanging ideas, inspiring one another, sharing their stories, sharing their, you know, thoughts about life, thoughts about education, thoughts about careers. Why shouldn't we as educators, why would we turn a blind eye to that? And I have to be honest, you know, I try to talk to my colleagues about Twitter and Instagram stories and Snapchat, and there's still this huge resistance, it seems. There's still this huge resistance that, you know, it seems to be that people are so used to the status quo, and they feel that why would I want to take it upon myself to add that extra work? So have you found that, by the way, have you noticed with your colleagues and with your immediate sort of environment, the ecosystem of education, that you see a lot of resistance?
100%, 200%. Oh yeah,
really?
Definitely. I think
so you're not the only one.
Yeah, that resistance is everywhere. I think people just don't want to change. Change is hard. You know, I always joke with my students at the end of the semester. The first day of the class, they came to the classroom, they sit at a whatever chair, and throughout the entire semester, they don't ever move their ass. They were on that chair the entire semester.
I love it.
And I think just human being, we just don't want to change. This change is very hard. And just talking about resistance, and I think, you know, we always say that our students' attention span is so short, they don't want to learn. But I really think a question we need to ask ourselves as educator is, are we teaching students the way they are supposed to learn? You know, our students grew up in this digital age, and their attention span is short. You know, they're used to the stimuli from the digital environment. You know, ever since I incorporated social media, I don't want to say that my students are perfect, and engagement is definitely much, much better. You know, like, I think all of us have fears, like, especially for me, English is my second language.
You sound terrific. You sound terrific. You speak English fantastic.
Oh, thank you. For a long time.
You speak it so well.
You're so nice. For a long time, I was holding back to embrace Snapchat because of fear of my language, my accent. But I noticed the only way to overcome our fear is by acting on that fear. There's no other way. If you're always afraid of it, and if you don't do any action and your fear accumulates, you're going to be even more afraid of it. And then when everything moves on, by the time you really want to do something, it's too late. You're too behind the game. So I noticed that, you really have to just do it. I think that resistance is everywhere. You see it like in our society, in different like industries, in higher education, it's everywhere. And I think in terms of higher ed, and I think having some sort of support from higher ed, like from higher up, from like leaders, is so important, because I think everyone wants that incentive, even though there are people like you who are just self-motivated to do things. But I think many people, they need some sort of like incentive to embark on action.
I definitely need it too. I think community is everything. You're very kind. I think having a supportive, hey Jeff, good to see you. Hey Barb. I think having a supportive community, a community that does not criticize one another, but actually engages and asks inquisitive questions and tries to support one another, and do some thorough research on, well, before I say no to this, right? And here I have a perfect example. I was teaching a digital humanities course, and I noticed, this could actually probably get me in trouble, but I don't care. I noticed that the curriculum that, you've been in education a long time. I know Erica has too. They kind of give you these SLO, student learning outcomes, and course initiatives. And this is the things you have to cover, this base, that base. For those of you, Nez Nation, who don't know anything about education, you have autonomy, but only so much sometimes, unless you're tenured. But even when you're tenured, there's still, administrative, management kind of comes down on you. And I knows this very well. Yes. So I was teaching, and being an adjunct at this university, you have really zero autonomy. And so they hired me to teach the digital humanities course, and they were showing articles about Facebook from 2008. And I got really upset. I deleted the entire curriculum. I revamped the entire curriculum. I talked about live video. I talked about current states of, the digital sort of landscape and what's happening in media, what's happening in all of these different platforms. I mean, they had articles about Twitter from 2007. I'm thinking, how is this going to help our students understand? So I basically sort of turned it into a live stream masterclass.
That's awesome.
And my goal was to have them sort of engage and not pressure them, but do like a private Facebook group thing where we can practice going live with each other, getting comfortable, kind of telling our story, right? Because it's just the medium. The medium has changed. Nothing has changed in 2,000 years. Who are you as an author? Who is your audience? What is your purpose? That's never changed, but the medium is the same. The medium has shifted. So I got a very vicious, and I get it. I understand it, but it was a very sort of, let me rephrase that. Maybe not vicious, but it was a very highly resistant email saying, Professor Nez, you can't do that. Basically, we have to stick to whatever. And so, I love what you said, that we need to really encompass, listen, immerse ourselves in our students' lives. And hey, Andrew, good to see you. Andrew's a student of mine. Thank you, Andrew. Good job. I love my students that come pop in here. Andrew is an amazingly talented individual. Andrew, you're going places. Take me with you. Okay. Don't forget me.
And me.
And I. Yeah. Andrew's going to be a huge success.
Do you almost feel that like nowadays we are almost at the edge of a paradigm shift? I say that because traditional education is in a very closed system. When I was looking at some of the innovation, like teaching learning centers, I was doing some research of different universities, and seems to me what they teach, like Google Slides, PowerPoints, and some of the those tools, is still you have authority and information, sending information is like one-way communication, but social media is totally different. It's about to share. It's about
collaboration. Yes.
Collaboration.
Community. Participate.
Exactly, a co-creation of content. You are no longer the center of the stage. It's like everyone else. We're co-creating something. So I think it's so different from the
Co-creating, I
old.
love that.
It's so different from the old paradigm that we are operating to teach. And I think that talking about fear and resistance and definitely like cause some fears, not everyone wants to go public.
And also, I love what you said. I think what you're saying is so absolutely profound and so accurate. And also, we have literally living proof. I've never, ever met I in person. Never.
Exactly.
And actually, I never met Dr. Bowling, but I was watching this beautiful discourse. It was a beautiful discourse taking place within the comments. People, they downplay social media. People, they still equate social media with, teenagers taking selfies at Starbucks or sexting, or just they focus on the least common denominator. But the beautiful thing is it's not the technology, it's the user, okay? It's not the technology.
Exactly.
Of course, there's going to be people who abuse every object, every technology, there's a whole lot of good, a few bad in every genre, right? But why do we always focus on the least common denominator? So, for example, let me back this up with a case study. So for example, if somebody, a colleague of mine heard something in the news, woman meets somebody on Twitter or Tinder or what have you, and gets, taken advantage of or gets robbed, or even, God forbid, something worse, that story gets amplified and augmented to be the sort of representation of the reality of social media, when it's a very one minor incident, or let's just say it's not a minor incident. Let's say it happens a lot. Still, does that mean that we should totally turn a blind eye to the reality of the digital ecosystem, of how people are communicating, how people are sharing? What are your thoughts on that, I
totally agree. And I think that's probably also a reflection of many years of schooling and socialization. We are trained to focus on what we are not good at. Like, for example, when
I love that. Good call.
I was a little kid, whatever subjects I was not good at, I got tutor. I would spend hours trying to study those subjects, like math, physics, and I just truly pay my 100% attention. Whereas the things that I'm good at, nobody ever pay attention. So I think over the years, it's like socialization, especially in academia, critical reviews, every ladder you climb, publications, very critical comments. I think we just tend to pay more attention to things that are not good.
Yeah,
and
good call.
Positive that bring us some satisfaction, but it's so short. It's just gone instantaneously. Yeah.
So let me ask you, so if you have a student who doesn't understand social media, if you have somebody in your class who's wondering, what is Snapchat? What is Instagram? What's the first thing you tell them? Or how would you even frame it, so to speak?
I think you cannot tell them, you have to show them.
Love it.
The best way to show them is using yourself as an example. There's no better way to teach students than using yourself as an example. I wrote a blog, shared my top 3 mistakes as a professor. One of the 3 mistakes is that I didn't walk the talk. I talked too much. I didn't do any action. I think maybe many professors can relate to that. We are good at talking about theories.
Yes.
And but when it comes to action, we are lacking to some extent. And I really think I can see a difference in my students. I used to talk a lot, and I don't see substantial changes in my students' behavior. But when I really embrace social media and students see changes in me, hey, I actually did a blog on Brent Fenzel's page, and that blog got shared 400 times. I was like, wow, that is so powerful. That
Good
is
for you.
how we learn.
Yeah.
That's how we learn influencer marketing, not from PowerPoint slides, reading the definition, but to see me as someone they can relate to in the classroom, taking action in real life. That's how they learn. I think that's what I want to tell the students. If the students is resisting to social media, look at me. This is what I'm doing. This is happening to me as a result of what I'm doing. If you want the same thing happening to you, do what I do. I think our action speaks definitely louder than words, and I think that what I will do. Yeah, and social media.
I love that. I love that. Being an
so much.
example to your students,
Exactly.
being the actual sort of, demonstration. This is how I use
Be
it.
the change
Be the
that you want to
change.
see in the classroom.
I love that. Beautiful. Be the change you want to see in the classroom. And it's funny. Andrew's such a sweetheart. Thank you, Andrew, for the beautiful comments. I tell my students all the time, I'm going to be interviewing, Owen Video. He's a fantastic YouTube marketer with over 15,000 subscribers. He leverages video to clients, showing brands how they can get their story across to a larger, broader audience. I'm interviewing Ai Zhang, somebody who is taking social media head on, communicating her vision, communicating her purpose, communicating that this is the way, this is the medium that we need to focus on so that we can interact with our communities, interact with our friends, interact with our family, interact with our customers, our clients, right? I tell my students all the time, I say, you got to check these interviews are not just for kicks and giggles. Even though I love it, I love meeting people like Dr. Holzmer, I love meeting people like but it's really, this is about, actually having some kind of creating a network of individuals who have a purpose, a vision that is somewhat coincidental, and bringing that to a wide audience. I think that's beautiful. And I'm sitting in the US of A in Southern California, Ai's all the way in Korea. I mean, this is like, it's beautiful. It's beautiful.
Hotel. Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
I wrote an article a few days ago. I said that social media is not replacing educators in the classroom, but only amplifying what professors can do,
Right.
and I think it is just like so true, like learning, like traditionally, like the relationship between teacher and student stops once the class is over. But social media is almost as an extended version of who I am. I'm always available to my students and they can reach out to me at any time that is convenient to them. Not that I'm going to respond in the middle of the night, but I think it definitely like expands who I am and to my students. I think that's truly amazing.
Yes, no, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. So let me ask you, I noticed that you do a great Snapchatting. I love your snaps, and you are on Facebook. Is there anything that you can say about when, I get students saying, hey, Professor Nez, or I get clients, because I work with clients too in coaching. Hey, where should I start? Or how can I even begin, or what's the proper, there's so many different out there. There's Pinterest, there's YouTube,
Absolutely.
There's Facebook, there's Snapchat. What do you think is a good place for people to kind of start or to kind of get things rolling? Or what would you kind of recommend?
I think for anyone starting social media, which is also one mistake I made, you first thing is that you need to know your why. Why
I love that.
you want to be on social media. Let me tell you, I was all over the place over the past several months, especially because when I was teaching, it's very easy for me to focus my stories. Like, this is what I do, and I talk about it. Last year, I had been on sabbatical, and I lost that focus, and I didn't know clearly what is my why to be on social media, other than like learning the platform. My storytelling was like all over the place. On Snapchat, sometimes people use an emoji to categorize the content of this person's story. And I was asking myself, what emoji can people use to talk about my stories? I couldn't think of any. It's like, wow, that is another wake-up call for me. So I think you really need to understand what is your why. Why do you want to use social media? What is the purpose? And then starting from there, and you can kind of choose a platform. Like for me, and I find that I got lots of good engagement on Twitter, even though not many people are maybe not using it, not as popular as before. And I learned that you really need some sort of content that when people do Google search, they can find you.
Right.
I have been on Snapchat. I think Snapchat is good to deepen the relationship that you have with people already. It's very challenging to expand your network. But some other platforms, like right now, I started blogging, and
tell us about this. I want to hear about your blog. I mean, you've been talking a lot about it. Tell us.
It's really amazing
because you're doing something unique. Yeah.
Yes, because I was reading some articles and I got inspired because right now my life is really crazy and I just want to do something like consistently. I can do it on a daily basis. I was inspired by those two authors on Medium. They shared how daily blogging transformed their lives. I was like, wow. And they started with only 100 words a day. I was like, that's not hard.
That's
like
easy.
I can write like 100 words, not a problem. So
Yeah.
I started that
Welcome,
journey.
Josh. Yeah.
And
Go ahead,
I
sorry.
have been blogging for like 2 weeks or so, and I love it. The engagement I got, and it really shows.
And you're on Medium, right? You're predominantly on Medium?
Yes,
yeah, I love
predominantly
Medium.
on Medium, and I
Yeah.
copy and paste some of my content from Medium.
I love Medium. I use Medium and LinkedIn for a lot of my blogging.
Exactly, because I really love, again, is this ability to co-create content, on
Yes.
Medium. People
Yes.
can highlight and can engage in really good conversations.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's really the future of learning, which everything's co-created, not from this one authority figure who has like a PhD, MA, whatever, but it's really this ability to co-create. We can learn from each other to disrupt, the structure.
So let me just stop you really quickly, if I may. So if I'm understanding correctly, which I love what you're saying, I love what you're advocating, it seems to me that the common thread so far in the conversation is this idea of collaboration, of
absolutely,
community, of co-composing, co-creating. And this is what social media can lend to a lot of communities and a lot of individuals and groups, but also even in education, as opposed to which those of you who maybe are having a hard time following or not sure what we mean by the older model, the sort of finger wagging professor up there telling everybody what to do and sort of, okay, go do your homework and don't bother me. See you later. You're actually bringing them in on the journey with you. You're actually bringing them in on the learning, the lectures, through the discussion with humility too. I always try to tell my students, don't listen to anything I say. I literally say this to my students. I say, don't listen to anything I say. Don't take my word for anything. You go find out experientially in the real world if this stuff makes any sense. Why do I need to be a communicator? Why do I need to know my purpose? Why do I need to understand self-awareness? Why is it important to have a structure, to have writing ability, communication, storytelling, branding? What does that even mean, right? Don't listen to Professor Nez. I always say, go try to test this stuff out in the real world and then come back. I'd love your feedback. Is that kind of sort of what am I understanding that correctly?
Oh, absolutely. Collaboration is so important. And I think students really need to see that. I think the best time to see that is probably if they are in college. When they are in college, we need to prepare them,
Yes.
I remember like last year I went to a conference and then this one person did a presentation saying that like students after they graduated, it took them at least 1 year to familiarize themselves with the working environment to be able to do any like job. And this professor's argument is like 1 year. We should be clapping for that. That's like not bad. I was like 1 year, how much debt did our students accumulate over 4 years, and they still need another year to get prepared? I think that's a disaster. That's a failure.
Yes.
I think if we don't prepare our students, like who else is going to prepare them? Why are they in college? And I think that first step is our professors. If we don't,
we're the gatekeepers.
Exactly, we are the gatekeepers, and if we don't show them like this is how you use social media, I don't think they are going to learn because they spend time with their peers who are exactly the same as them. And I think we are that, yes, gatekeepers. Exactly. Yes.
And I love what you said. It's like, this is part of the reason why I am trying to create, more, of a kind of, if you want to call it I'm trying to create an online academy where I create courses based on my expertise, and I create workshops, and I create spaces where people can come and we can exactly what you talk about. We can co-compose together, collaborate together, and learn things that actually apply to our lives. Because I am sick and tired. I know you are too. I'm sick and tired of students coming to me with $200,000 of debt and saying, Professor Nez, I can't find a job. That breaks my heart. You've just spent 6 years, sometimes more than that, sometimes 4 years. Most people, you think that 4 years to graduate, but some people it takes 5, 6. They're not always graduating in 4 years, right? because, you know, something happens, maybe they get ill or a family, or just they get lazy or they didn't pass some classes, you know, and they come to me with all this debt and they say, I can't find a job. It just absolutely murders me. And this is part of the reason why I love doing this show, because I feel like this show is not only, hopefully it's enjoyable and it's fun, but it's also something that people can actually get some value out of and maybe hopefully learn something from. Thank you, Jeff. Yes, debt is seriously handicapping our students. And I know I'm loving people like Dr. Bowling. I'm loving people like Dr. Zhang, like Dr. Holzmer and others who are in my genre, who are in my arena, in my field, coming out and trying to do unique different things, because those are the innovators. Disruption. I love what you said about disruption. So kudos to you. You're doing just amazing, amazing. Oh, we lost your audio. Is it just me? For some reason I lost your audio. Oh, now it's back. Is that
okay? So okay. I'm not using my earphones. I hope you can still hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Because, you know, like I start to do more, because right now I also kind of transitioning to become an education innovation, hopefully specialist, and to teach courses and collaborate with leaders, innovators. I shared with you earlier, I really want to launch a podcast. And
I think that's so smart. This
is my title. Tell me if you like it or not.
Okay, tell me. We're doing a live production meeting right here.
Classroom without walls. Using education to reimagine, using technology to reimagine education.
Wait. Time out. Okay, Hey, Nancy, how are you? Good to see you. Hey, Josh. So wait a minute. So a classroom without walls, subtitle, using technology?
To reimagine education.
Oh my God.
So I really want to
I love that title. Who
are passionate about technology and ask how this technology can be applied in higher ed to teach better students and enhance learning outcomes. That's my goal.
I love it. I love it. I think that title is exquisite. Honestly, I think that title is amazing. Classroom, it's so easy to memorize too. Classroom without walls, using technology to reimagine education. Boom. Boom. I think you should do two things. And this is just my advice. You can say, screw off, Professor Nez. You can say, I agree. I won't get hurt either way. I think you should do a podcast for sure. And I guarantee you, I could find you 100 guests like that, people who are in the education space. And then I think you should also you should repurpose it on YouTube and repurpose it on a live broadcast. So you do it live, split the audio, put that on a podcast, and also put it in blog form. Each episode, make sure you put it into a blog, like on Medium or something like that, because that's a brilliant show. That's a brilliant idea.
That's exactly my plan, because I was thinking some ideas to keep blogging. I was like, yeah, I really need to collaborate, talking about collaboration, co-creating content. I just love it. So it's absolutely
brilliant. Well, I'm with you. I am your supporter. I am your fan. If you ever need a guest, if you ever need any help, if you ever need just somebody to bounce ideas off of, you can always reach out to me, because I love what you're doing. I think what you're doing is powerful. It's profound. It's innovative. It's creative. And those are the kind of people I want to surround myself with, because they inspire me. You inspire me. I wouldn't have had you on the show if I didn't feel like this is somebody who I need to share with the world. This is somebody who needs to get her message out there. So I want you to continue doing what you're doing, because you're doing just an amazing, amazing work. Let us know, guys, if you have any questions for our wonderful guest, Ai Zhang, and I would be happy to pass that along. Let us know if you have any questions about her. We're talking about disrupting education. We're talking about social media. Yeah, go ahead, please.
Because I was doing some research on education innovation, trying to find schools. I've actually found quite a few schools alternative to college.
Cool.
And they only have 1 year, and it's more internship based, and you learn from practice and just 1 year. And some of them are very innovative, tuition free, and you pay back to the school only after you graduate. And there are quite a few models like that. And I really started to ask myself, should we just completely get rid of 4-year education? I don't think so. And I still remember when I came to the US, I was like fascinated. I was fascinated by the liberal arts education environment in the US. The human component, the storytelling, the asking questions, not for the sake of exams, but really like interest-based learning. I love that. And taking courses have nothing to do with my major, like, this shower effect, many times we have great ideas when we are in the shower or doing things unrelated to our job. I think that's important, but somehow I puzzled at how we can help students see the value of that liberal arts environment instead of just doing it. Okay, I need to fulfill this Common Core requirement. I need to take this class, but to really use that class to make them be more creative, critical, and inquisitive. All those things. I don't know. But I also.
You know what I do, if I may? You know what I do to try to tell them, because you're absolutely right. And what I is talking about is sort of a ubiquitous problem with a lot of institutions, especially professors whose heart belongs in the humanities, whose heart belongs in philosophy, whose heart belongs in writing, communications, critical thinking, creative solutions, creative thinking, storytelling. Most students take those classes, most students that are required to take those classes, there is this stigma or perception of the class as being just another one of those dumb electives that hopefully I'll get a C, or hopefully I'll ace it and not have to do too much work and then get done and over with it. But you know what I do? I literally show them concrete examples of why knowing who you are, why understanding, what your story is, understanding, how to communicate that story is literally the most important. I'll tell you what I mean, Josh, by storytelling. Josh says, what do you mean by storytelling? I'll tell you exactly what I mean. We're all storytellers, Josh. You're a storyteller. I'm being a storyteller right this instant. I, as a storyteller, she has a story that's unique to hers. Everybody has a story, but if you don't know how to communicate it, whether with this guy, well, I'm going to do this, writing or speaking, if you don't have those skills, the world will never hear your story. Worse than that, the world can misunderstand your story if you don't communicate it effectively. So this is what I always say, because, President Obama used to advocate STEM studies. It's all about STEM. It's all about STEM, science, technology, engineering, math. What about the humanities? What about the arts? What about creativity? What about storytelling? I tell my tech students all the time. I tell my IT students all the time. Okay, sweet, STEM. What good is all that science? What good is all that technology? What good is all that engineering and math if it just stays in here and it never comes out and you're never able to communicate it? If you don't know how to communicate your ability to leverage science, technology, engineering, math, what good is it? It stays in here, or it stays in here. It never comes out, or worse, you misunderstand it. So yes, absolutely. Jeff says, are writing skills as important as they once were? They're the most important. I would say. Go ahead,
Yes, writing skills, communicating, very important. Talking about STEM, I grew up in the STEM environment. I spent my entire K-12 education studying math, physics, chemistry. Seriously, I didn't spend much time learning like liberal arts at all. Like, it's just like very heavy science-based environment. It really killed my creativity. I lost my interest in learning. I lost my curiosity about life. I just I think now, but true in the sense that, when I was in graduate school, when I was taking some graduate classes from statistics and analytics, some of the knowledge I learned from the American graduate school, I did learn them when I was in maybe high school, you see the gap. And, but so what, I really don't think that the time and energy I spent on doing those exams and studying math, physics really helped me be more advanced in this game of life. Right. I really don't think so. I think it's really our ability to see questions, to ask questions, and to be curious, to have that eyes, to be curious about life. I think that's what pushes us forward. Not
absolutely.
to
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Einstein used to, if you don't know who Albert Einstein is, one of the greatest minds that ever lived, Einstein used to swear by literature to inspire him. He used to read War and Peace once a year by Tolstoy, which is the great Russian novel. And he was asked why. He says, well, not only do I read War and Peace, I read Dostoevsky, I read Mark Twain, I read Hemingway, right? And they asked him, they said, why? And he said, because it inspires me, it motivates me, it makes me look at things in a completely different way, that's what creative thinking is. There's no way Einstein would have been the scientist that he is. There's no way Newton would have been the scientist that he is. There's no way that Steve Jobs would have been the entrepreneur that he was if it wasn't for their creative skills. We lost your audio again.
Oh, really?
Okay, now you're okay. There you are. You're okay now. For some reason, I thought we lost your audio again. Okay, you're back. Say something.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Okay, you're back. But yeah. So I mean, a funny thing about Steve Jobs is most people think that Steve Jobs was this like technical wizard, but really Steve Jobs was not really that technical a person at all. Actually, it was Wozniak who was the real technical kind of guru, but Steve was the idea man. He was the creative guy. He was the artist. So to answer, Jeff's question, Jeff, you're an author. You should know that. To answer, your question, I think storytelling, communication, so-called soft skills are the glue that binds science, technology, engineering. So STEM, I think your creativity and your writing and your communication is the glue that binds all those beautiful, and I have nothing wrong with STEM. I love science. I love technology. I love engineering and math. We need it to pursue life and to perpetuate life on Earth. We need those beautiful endeavors, right? But don't forget the arts. Don't forget humanities. Don't forget communications. Don't forget storytelling.
As really like a holistic approach. Maybe I'm my Eastern thinking, like it's very clear, like in the medical field, like for example, like in China, like when we see a doctor, like if our heart has a problem, we don't go to see a heart doctor. We go to see a generalist. They kind of examine you. They look at the color of your face. They look at your tongue. They like do this, and they do a whole body examination. It's like a holistic system.
Love it.
Here, it's like compartmentalized. Like everything's like this. Like it's like very linear. Like a clear linear division between different things. I think what we're trying to say is like more holistic, that integrates, like you said it so beautifully, like glue that brings everything together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I love it. And we have some great comments here. Nancy says, we all need to maintain our own childhood curiosity. It keeps us going. Thank you for teaching your students this. Isn't everybody watching right now, isn't I fantastic?
Oh, thank you.
You are fantastic.
I have another story to share with you.
Please.
I'm in Korea, and like I got together with some of my friends. We went to graduate school together. I was asking them about, when PhDs got together, we talk about education. So I asked them about like how children are raised in South Korea. I don't think much has changed. Everything has become a lot worse. And there's like CEO classes for like little baby, like 3 years old. And like many of their parents send their children to go to after classes from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. And those classes are so popular that they have to hire policemen to control the traffic.
Whoa.
Like Black Friday shopping. And it's like study. I don't think they have that curiosity left at all. It's like, and then my friend shared with me, I want like her daughter said that her life was miserable and didn't like it. Like, what's the point? Learning is supposed to be fun. Are you enjoying this? Yes, like regarding Nancy's comment, curiosity, I think is so important.
I mean, yeah.
We need to protect that.
Yes, we need to protect that. And look at the countries that are crushing it, like Finland, Sweden, Holland, Denmark. They don't have tests. They don't have finals. They don't have exams. They don't have homework, but they're crushing it on all of the literacy skills, computation, mathematics, science, technology. How come they're crushing it? Because they're enjoying what they're learning. They're actually intrigued. They're curious. They're taught to engender this sort of, the miracle of everything, the awe of everything, which is really the epicenter of curiosity. I think it's just beautiful. Let me ask you this. Yeah, go ahead,
I think if you look at children, I look at my 5 and 2 years old. I think we have that.
Wait, you have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old?
Yes.
Okay, I have a 5-year-old and I have a 3-year-old, and holy macadamia nut, trying to be a professor and an entrepreneur and a father and a husband is literally impossible. How about you? How do you handle it?
Lots of crying.
Lots of wine.
In front of my Snapchat. It's like, there's too much. I can't do it.
Great comment from Jeff. Really quickly, Jeff just had a great comment. Steve Jobs actually said that his teachers did their best. All of his their teachers beat the curiosity out of him. It was his 4th grade teacher that saved him. That's really cool. Thank you, Jeff. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Yes, as I look at my children, I think as human beings, we have that innate, like born desire to learn. It's just part of us, who we are as very small children. And they are just curious. They want to learn. And when you look at like talking about resistance, many people, they are lazy. They don't want to learn, which is one mistake I made. After I got my PhD, I stopped learning. Not so much in the sense of like publication theories, but I stopped learning what is happening in the industry in my field of public relations. And I just got tired or something. I don't know. But like, I think somehow socialization system and schooling just slowly killed that innate desire to learn and to keep learning and to be curious. And I think it's really, as educators, we really need to like think of ways that we can somehow protect that. Because like I look at my young children, they just love to learn everything. Why is this? Why is that? They're just curious about everything. When I look at myself, not exactly the same. Yeah.
I love it. I think it's fantastic. Okay. I am so impressed with you. I love your energy. I love your tenacity. I love your audaciousness. I am just so proud of you, what you're doing. I hope we stay connected far beyond.
I have another comment.
Please. Yeah.
I really believe in ripple effect. Like I think when I was younger, I don't see the power of how one person can bring change. But now as I grow older, I really believe in individual power. Like I don't know if you heard of like law of attraction or like I don't know if you know this. There's the rice experiment and which is something like rice, like people have like 3 jars of rice. I did this when I was in graduate school, like 3 jars of rice and 1 jar of rice, and it's like neutral. Another jar of rice, every day you send like positive energy. I love you, I love you, I love you. Another jar of rice, every day you say, I hate you, I hate you. You truly say that emotion. And over a period of time, you look at the 3 jars of rice, very different result. And I really believe that all of us carry an energy field, and if we really believe in something and work toward it, and like together through social media and technology, we can create synergy to make whatever we believe in to happen, and I really believe it. And that's why I kind of like I'm on this journey to make this transition in terms of my career. And some days I just like, so what I'm doing, and this is now going to happen. And some other more days, I really believe, I see hope, and I believe with people like you and me and many others, and we can make change happen.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. And Tim says in the comments, Tim Longwell, thank you, Tim. Never stop asking why, something I have lived by all my life. Love it. Absolutely love it. So I have this questionnaire that I like to ask all my guests towards the kind of final segment of the show. And I have 3 questions that I want to ask you, and there is no wrong answer. So feel free. This is just questions that I've been kind of tweaking, working on, revising. And I love to ask my guests. These are questions that I think get a little bit deeper with who I is. And then after we do that, we're going to talk about where people can find you and how they can reach you, how they can get a hold of you. And, and then we can wrap up. Okay. Are you ready for the 3 questions? Okay, fantastic. Okay, the very first question is very simple. What inspires you? What inspires I?
I think,
and it doesn't have to be necessarily one little thing, but what inspires I, Zhang?
The next generation. When I look at, I think, like I somehow like in my heart, there is an educator in my heart. Even when I was a very young age, I'm just passionate about education. I think because of the horrible experience I had when I was a student. I hated
What
learning.
happened?
Like I just hated learning. I didn't want to learn. I didn't want to go to college. My parents forced me to fill out that paper form to go to college. I hated learning. And I just didn't have a really pleasant experience through that like exam-based learning. But like I think next generation, when I look at next generation, I think they are the hope, they are the future, and I want them to thrive and to exceed in life and to do well, to make our country, our society, our universe a better place. So I think they are my motivation, my students, my children, the next generation.
I love that.
That I get up early in the morning to do work and to bring change to our society.
You know, I love what you said. First of all, beautiful answer, and I think we see a lot of, you know, I'm always reserved or a little bit reticent to use the word influencer, but thought leaders and people who are kind of denigrating the kind of next generation or maybe judging them a little too harshly, I think. And I love that you're championing the next generation and you're really encouraging, because I tell my students all the time, I tell them, I go, you know, I want you to succeed more than anything. And it's a very selfish reason, actually. I have a very selfish reason why I want you to succeed, because I care about you guys succeeding, because I'm old, I'm dead and gone. You guys and my kids, you're going to take over this world. And I have a vested interest in that. So I want you guys to have the best world possible, because if you guys are going to be taking care of my kids and you guys are going to be living in this world, I want to hopefully do everything I can to help it flourish. Does that make sense,
Yes, I think next generation is a product of this generation. You know, they are a reflection of us. You know,
yes.
Like we deconstruct who we are, make things better. We're going to influence them. We don't just want to blame our students. Reflecting on us, what is something that I can improve? Maybe I was not good at this. Maybe that's why they don't like this. So like always starting within and then go outward. Yes.
Yeah, and I think they've been getting a bad rap. I think they've been getting a lot of, you know, sort of.
Yeah, you hear this a lot. People say, oh, our students, their attention span is so short. I was like, yes, maybe your PowerPoint presentation is so boring.
I love it. Exactly. Okay, great answer. Okay, our second question here is, what is your number one concern, if there is any, with the digital world and social media? What's your number one concern?
Do you have like 2 hours?
Maybe we'll have to do an extra outtake show or something. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's really about myself. Like that feeling I'm not good enough. I struggle with this a lot. Like especially now when like starting on this kind of journey of transitioning, I hear this voice in my mind. Who do you think you are? You are not good enough. You are not going to succeed. Yeah. I think that's that is something that has been like troubling me. And that just voice, you are not good enough. And
that's my whole thesis. I mean, have you seen my YouTube channel at all? My entire YouTube channel is mindset. It's all about mindsets. And my book that I'm working on right now is about the guy that lives inside your head, whose favorite word is can't. His favorite word, the guy that lives inside here, his favorite word is no. You are not good enough, or you can't do this, or you're too this, too that, not this, not that. I love what you say there. Absolutely. So that's your number one concern.
That's my number one concern.
I love it.
I think I need to just work on myself to try, as I share with you, I think it's just years of socialization and schooling. I just learned to focus on what I'm not good at.
Right.
And don't think much about, you don't want to be arrogant, or I don't know. I just don't want to focus too much on things that I'm good at, you know, especially like selling. Like it's not my thing, you know. I feel uncomfortable selling people some stuff. It's not my thing at all. So I think this is something that I need to work on myself. Yes.
Right.
My number one concern.
I love that. So here's another thing too is, and I want to go through what Jeff said. Jeff said something really poignant. Perfectionism creates stagnation and prevents progress. You are good enough. I love that. Thank you, Jeff.
I have a kind of like something to share with you in regard to that. You know,
Yes.
I always call myself this. I call this the lotus flower spirit. You know, lotus grew up in the mud. They use the mud as their nutrition to grow beautifully, like elegantly. And in our life, the mud is like the failures, the challenges in life. We need that to mold, to shape us to be a beautiful flower like the lotus. And I tell myself, try to remind myself of that.
You know, studying a lot of Advaita Vedantism and Taoism and, you know, Lao Tzu and you know, even a lot of, you know, Korean Zen Buddhism too. You know, the metaphors are just beautiful, you know, talking about, especially I love the metaphor of the lotus, of how it rises above the mud, and it's beautiful. Yeah, that's really good. I love the way you said that. Okay, last question. Are you ready for this?
Yes, sorry.
Okay, the last question. No, you're doing fantastic. I love your stories. I love your everything that you're throwing at us is just beautiful. It's gold. So the last question. What one thing in your entire life, it can be anything. It'd be something your grandfather said, something you learned at school, something you learned professionally, personally. Yes, I've studied Hinduism too as well, Josh. It can be anything. What is the one thing that has stuck with you your entire life that has helped you time and time again that you could share with the Nez Nation audience? What is the one thing? And it can be more than one thing, obviously, but just one thing that's stuck with you through the years. And it can be anything that you have used time and time again that's helped you, and something maybe you can share with us.
And I can share too, but they are about
Go
the
ahead.
same thing.
Sure.
There are two people, they truly believe in me. Like one is I shared with you the traditional education in China really killed my interest in learning. I was just not interested in learning. I was able to do the exams, but when I was in middle school, there's one English teacher who really truly believed in me, and she asked me to be in China we have, for each class we have like kind of a class representative. It's more like a leader to take care of the entire class in a certain subject. So that leader, that English teacher, asked me to be a leader to take care of the English class. And ever since that day, I think I became interested in learning English. She really planted the seed in me, and she believed in me. And even though English was not my strength either, but she really believed in me. I think that story, like sometimes when I wanted to give up, and like just her faith in me, and truly got me going. Another story also related with my mother. And when I was very young, you know, everyone has to learn how to ride a bicycle. And I was like, oh, I don't want to learn. I can't ever do this thing. It's so hard. And my mom just told me, I believed in you. You can do it. And somehow that sentence just stuck in my brain. And every time, at least there are two people who believed in me in my life, and they keep me going. And last story, maybe I can add this way. In China, we do palm reading a lot, you know, and this is one story I love the most. And if you look at our palm, and this line, the line closest to our thumb, this is our lifeline. It's like longevity, symbolize how long you live in this universe. And when you make a fist, you can see that 2/3 of this line is inside your fist. So what this means is that 1/3 is by God, 2/3 is by us, waiting for our life.
Oh, I love that. That is perfect. Wow, I can't think of a better way to end the show. What a fantastic.
So we control our life. We can make change happen.
Oh, you are fantastic. Isn't I fantastic? Give me some emojis in the comments. How much do you love I? Give me some smiley faces, some hearts. Yeah, does it matter if you're left-handed? No, it probably doesn't, Jeff. I'm left-handed too, actually. I'm actually ambidextrous. I use both hands. But yes, Zhang, I am so impressed with you. We need people like you in education, but we need people like you in the world, period. I love what the Dalai Lama said, you know, not that long ago. He said, what he said was, you know, we have enough successful people in the world. We have enough people who make a lot of money. We need compassionate people. We need open-minded people. We need intelligent people. We need people who are altruistic and giving. And I think that you're one of those people, and I hope to God that, you keep plugging away, you keep doing your thing. And, on behalf of the entire Nez Nation audience, I just want to thank you so much, for being on the show. You have been phenomenal. You've been fantastic. We really enjoyed having you. Nez Nation, I hope you guys really, really enjoyed as much as I did. I think the comments have really reflected that. You guys have really been giving us a lot of great comments. 2 things before we get out of here. Number 1, if you have not liked Professor Nez's page yet, go ahead and go hit that like button and follow, so you'll always be notified when we go live and any new interesting articles on communication, storytelling, digital media, social media marketing, content marketing, everything, digital entrepreneurship. Also, leave in the comments on the replay. Those of you watching on the replay, leave in the comments if you have any questions for me or I come back and I try to respond to almost every comment, if not all of them. And I know I will do the same. Is going to tell us really quickly how we can find her and reach her, but she's also going to leave in the comments of this broadcast all of her information of where you can see her Snapchat, her Instagram, her website, where you can contact, especially her Medium blog, she's going to leave all that in the comments after we broadcast. But before we go, why don't you tell the Nez Nation audience really quickly how they can get a hold of you and where they can find you?
Thank you so much first for having me. It's truly my honor to spend an hour with you. And people can find me everywhere using the same username, Edison Zhao. And on Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, Instagram, and Medium is the same.
Absolutely. Fantastic. Okay, everybody, what a wonderful show. It's been my honor and privilege to host. I'm your host, Professor Nez, and we will see you guys next time. Stay tuned. Have a wonderful evening, everybody. Thank you.